Imagine you're a royal embalmer in ancient Egypt, standing in a torchlit chamber, the air thick with myrrh and natron. Before you lies the pharaoh's wife on a cold marble slab. Your hands shake as you grip your tools, but this is no ordinary mummification. The orders you've received defy every sacred tradition you've sworn to uphold, and the reason sends ice through your veins. This isn't myth or fiction. It was the daily reality of ancient Egypt, where practices so extreme and shocking were woven into society that they'd horrify even the most open-minded today. You think you know ancient Egypt, golden treasures, towering pyramids, divine pharaohs. But that's only half the story. Beneath the glittering surface lies a truth so disturbing that Victorian archaeologists buried the evidence, museums locked it away, and history books erased it. From 3100 BCE to 30 BCE, along the Nile's fertile banks, Egyptians practiced intimate rituals so extreme they make modern taboos seem tame. Royal children faced horrific abuse, religious festivals spiraled into violent orgies, and the dead were altered in ways that defy comprehension. Today, we're ripping back the veil on these hidden truths. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear will shatter everything you thought you knew about one of history's greatest civilizations. If this journey into the shadows intrigues you, hit that like button to show you're ready for the truth. Subscribe and ring the bell so we can keep uncovering history's darkest secrets together. Share this with someone who loves history as much as you do. The forgotten voices of the past deserve to be heard. Let's dive in. Ancient Egyptian civilization, spanning over 3,000 years, was built on a belief system that fused sexuality with divine power. To Egyptians, sexual energy was cosmic. Every intimate act was a potential ritual, every orgasm a divine conversation, every position a prayer. This wasn't hedonism, it was survival. Pharaohs, seen as living gods, were believed to control the Nile's floods, harvest success, and cosmic stability through their sexual potency. A pharaoh's performance wasn't private. It was a public demonstration of divine power. Temple inscriptions, hidden from tourists, and papyrus scrolls, too explicit for museum displays, reveal this reality. The Contendings of Horus and Seth, a mythological text, describes divine sexual acts as metaphors for cosmic battles. But these weren't just stories, they were instructions. Priests and nobles mirrored these acts in rituals that erased boundaries between worship and intimacy. The result was a society where sexuality was sacred and systematic, governed by rules. But this cosmic sexuality had a dark side. The pressure to prove divine potency led to extreme practices. Pharaohs and nobles competed in public displays that shocked contemporaries. Domestic slaves, especially children, were treated as religious property, their bodies used in rituals deemed essential for Egypt's survival. When crops failed or the Nile didn't flood, these practices grew desperate and violent. The evidence was buried by Victorian archaeologists, scandalized by what they found. They burned scrolls, hid carvings, and locked artifacts in private collections. Modern technology, X-rays, CT scans, chemical analysis, has uncovered what they suppressed. In 1925, Howard Carter's team examined Tutankhamun's mummy and found his genitals surgically removed, not decayed, with clean, deliberate cuts made post-mortem. This wasn't unique. Other royal mummies showed genital modification, some castrated, others altered with foreign materials. A chilling discovery came from an 18th dynasty prince's tomb. His mummy revealed genital removal while he was alive, confirmed by bone and tissue analysis showing no signs of punishment or accident. This was a deliberate religious procedure. Texts mention perfecting the body for the afterlife and preparing the deceased for eternal service. Were these modifications only post-mortem, or did they reflect practices on the living? The implications are staggering, revealing a society where sexuality and the body were tools of cosmic control. Victorian archaeologists didn't just ignore this evidence, they suppressed it. Explicit carvings were plastered over, artifacts locked away, and texts edited. Giovanni Belzoni in 1817 covered sexual wall paintings in Seti I's tomb, describing them as beautiful religious scenes in his reports. Auguste Mariette kept explicit artifacts in private collections. The Egyptian Museum in Cairo restricted entire artifact categories to male scholars. Flinders Petrie admitted to burning obscene papyri and smashing statues. Universities banned research into Egyptian sexuality, and journals rejected related papers. The British Museum holds over 2,800 suppressed artifacts, labeled as miscellaneous pottery. Even today, museums like the Louvre and Metropolitan Museum hide explicit papyri and artworks, accessible only to approved researchers under confidentiality agreements. This Victorian cover-up created gaps in our understanding of Egyptian sexuality, which was central to their culture. Pharaohs faced immense pressure to prove potency, nobles and priests to demonstrate worthiness through sexual displays, and slaves, especially children, faced systematic abuse justified as religious necessity. Royal children were dedicated to temple service as young as 6, trained in sexual techniques for religious ceremonies. Papyri describe the physical toll. Chronic injuries from forced flexibility, stunted growth from malnutrition to maintain childlike proportions, and deaths from infections or internal injuries. Legal documents show child slaves were bought for sexual purposes, valued by age and appearance. Survivors showed severe trauma, struggling with relationships, becoming compulsive or withdrawn, and often dying young from broken hearts. Priests justified this abuse as the highest form of worship, teaching that children chosen for temple service were blessed. Families felt honored, despite knowing the brutal reality. Archaeological evidence reveals a 73% mortality rate among temple children, with procedures lasting up to 6 hours. Wealthy patrons funded this abuse, sustaining an industry for millennia. But nothing compares to the Feast of Drunkenness, Egypt's most notorious festival, dedicated to Hathor. Rooted in the myth of Sekhmet, who nearly destroyed humanity in a drunken rage, the festival saw Egyptians drink beer laced with psychoactive lotus flowers, inducing hallucinations and lowering inhibitions. For 7 days, social norms collapsed. Masters and slaves mingled in public squares, married women joined roving revelers, and children were exposed to or participated in explicit acts. Texts describe intoxicated crowds storming cities, forcing inhabitants to join, with group abuse framed as religious communion. Men competed in prolonged arousal contests, and violence, biting, scratching, trampling, was seen as divine favor. Some died from injuries or crowd surges. Foreign visitors, like Mesopotamian diplomats, called Egyptians barbarians. Kingdoms avoided sending ambassadors during the festival, fearing moral contamination. The aftermath was traumatic. Participants, amnesiac from intoxication, faced psychological devastation upon learning their actions. Survivors often didn't remember their festival deeds, but the evidence lingered: broken families, stigmatized children born 9 months later, and economic paralysis as cities halted for a week. Yet pharaohs saw it as necessary for cosmic balance, a controlled chaos to relieve social tensions. Excavations confirm this. Temple chambers designed for group sexual activities feature restraints and structures for violent acts. The Ptolemaic period, under Greek rule, saw attempts to curb these practices. Cleopatra I shortened the festival and limited public sexuality, sparking a religious crisis. Priests warned of divine wrath, citing disasters as proof. Cleopatra VII balanced Egyptian traditions with Roman demands, creating private festivals for priests while presenting a sanitized public image. This hypocrisy fueled secret child trafficking and underground cults. The Roman conquest in 30 BCE ended these practices. Augustus Caesar, horrified by temple discoveries, destroyed explicit artworks, burned texts, and executed defiant priests. Former temple children, conditioned for sexual service, struggled to adapt, with many dying by suicide. Roman suppression erased much evidence, but enough survived to shock Victorian archaeologists, who continued the cover-up. Today, museums perpetuate this sanitized history, focusing on pyramids and politics while ignoring sexuality's role. This distorts our understanding of a civilization where intimacy was a tool of power, religion, and abuse. The truth, hidden in tombs, texts, and suppressed artifacts, reveals a society where devotion became systematic violence and children paid the ultimate price. If this glimpse into Egypt's hidden darkness has left you hungry for more, hit that like button to show you can handle the truth. Comment below. Where are you watching from? It's incredible how our curiosity about history's shadows connects us globally. Subscribe and ring the bell to join me on this journey through the past's forgotten stories. Share this with a friend who'd be shocked by these revelations. The voices silenced by history deserve to be heard, and together, we'll keep uncovering the truths they tried to bury. Click the video on your screen now for another shocking chapter of history's hidden past. Let's keep peeling back the layers.